Well, hockey is back in full swing, and it's a great time to look at Carolina Hurricanes prospects all around the globe. Joining me as always to discuss the top 5 prospects of the month from Canes prospects and Dobber prospects, Nick Bass. Welcome, Nick.
Hello.
Okay, Nick, some really interesting folks you're going to talk about for September. Of course, they've been playing for a while, and certainly in some of the Russia leagues and so on. So we're going to get a chance to see how some of these players have kicked off their season. And we're going to kick it off with number 5 on the list, and that's Fyodor Avramov. Now, Avramov is a 6'3", 190-pound left winger. He shoots right. He's a guy that Dylan Griffin of Elite Prospects said this the draft year about him. He said he's a physically strong winger who can explode offensively with his handling and his shot. His work rate and offensive upside give him the potential for a real bottom 6 NHL role. So he got some good words about him, and of course he was drafted late, 198 in that 24 draft. So he's a guy that not many folks know much about, but you had something to say about him for September. What do you got?
I think a lot of people learned more about him at Dev Camp because he was able to go this year.
Right.
So people definitely got their first real viewing of him, as how I got my first in-person viewing of him. And he's definitely a throwback style of player with kind of the way he plays. There is a lot of finesse in his game, but it's a lot of powered style stuff, which is really good. At this point, I'd probably put him over 200 for weight at this point.
Okay.
He plays a lot closer to 200 in my opinion. I don't know if he actually is 200, but it feels like to me in the way he plays, he is. He's currently in a fun situation where he's either getting 20 minutes a night in the MHL or not basically, but 0 minutes a night in the KHL. And it kind of stinks, but while he's in the MHL, he's been really good. He's been his MHL team's main driver of offense, whether that be if he has to create chances for his teammates, whether that be he has to finish chances that his teammates give him. It kind of all flows through him. And he's also been tried at center a few times, which is something interesting. I have not gotten to view the game footage on those yet. Maybe I'll get around to it if I stop being so ungodly busy. But There's been a lot to like with Fyodor. I just really wish at this point that he would just play in the VHL instead of kind of wasting his time either 13th forward in the KHL or first line MHL.
Well, and last year he played in all 3 leagues. So that's the interesting thing in Russia. Of course, they can go from junior to what would be like our American League, which is the VHL, and then up to the KHL. So he got a touch in all 3 leagues. And of course, he's looks like he's back in the MHL this year, which would be like a junior type league here in North America. So he's getting his opportunity there for sure. And I think, like you say, I think Avramov is a guy that through that dev camp has definitely raised his profile quite a bit, which is great. So number 4 is a guy that I was really excited about, and we talked about him with the draft, and that's goaltender Semyon Frolov. Now Frolov, interesting thing from the Canes, they raved about Frolov. Again, a good-sized goalie at 6'3", 200. McKean said he's the prototypical Russian-style goalie, and it's pretty easy to see why he was the 3rd goalie picked in the 25 draft. And the interesting thing was, of course, there were some really top goalies, Ravensburger and some other folks that were ahead of him. But, boy, he certainly has great stock. How's he doing so far this year?
He's been whenever he gets playing time, he's been really, really good. I'm trying to remember what I said, but there's only been one start, I think, where he's allowed more than 1 goal, one true start. He had a game where he gave up, I think, 3, but it wasn't his start. It was the other goalie's start who gave up, I think, 3 or 4 in the span of like 6 minutes, so he had to come into game action. So he's been really, really good when he's on his designated start days. He's been putting together some great performances, and he's definitely reined in a little bit of the chaotic nature of his game, where he's not. He does still have some moments. I had posted a picture a little bit ago where he made a great save, but ended up halfway to the faceoff dot, which is ever so slightly terrifying. But other than that, he's been doing a lot of really good things, and he's put together a lot of good starts, and there's a lot to like from him. I just need to see him get some more game time. But the Spartak system is very loaded with goalies right now, so I'm as long as he gets 20-ish starts, maybe 25, I'll be pretty good with it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely. A lot of folks were pretty high on Semyon Frolov, and certainly all the reviews and the ratings in terms of where he might end up in the draft suggested that he was going to be a pick of interest. So that's great. And the Canes, of course, have Ruslan Kazeev down in Chicago right now, and he might get some playing time because, of course, there's still some question who that other goaltender might be down there. They originally thought that Primo was going to be there alongside Mir Miftakov, but since he was picked up by the Leafs and on waivers, there's really an open spot for Kazeev for now. So I really like what we're doing, the Canes are doing with the Russian goaltenders, and I think there's definitely a lot to be excited about there. Now, next up at number 3 was Alexander Perevalov. Now, Perevalov we've talked about before. He's a guy that was drafted a while ago. And again, he was very highly rated in that draft that the Canes picked him in. Dauber Prospects, you might recall, said dangerous offensive winger with a great shot and strong all-around offensive tool set. And Corey Pronman, who's generally accepted as one of the better analysts for prospects, he's with The Athletic, of course, he said Perevalov can make a lot of good things happen with the puck. He has excellent stick skills, showing consistent ability to beat checks one-on-one and create inside the offensive zone with his stick handling. So again, a natural, skilled offensive player. We've been waiting for him to break out. How's he doing this year?
Yeah, well, one thing, the Dauber report was before my time, before I started there, since he was drafted 20. He might have been 23, but he might have been a draft that I didn't get to cover fully. But yeah, injuries and other things have kind of ruined the past 2 years before the last half of the season he had, and then now going forward he's on the right track. And I give a lot of credit to the Metallurg Novokuznetsk staff for just getting him in the position that he needs to be, and Perevalov's been doing what he needs to do. He's been just scoring in a litany of ways, and the one thing that I was kind of not complaining about, but like, hey, I want to see this guy be more consistent before I go, hey, he might, start to look like an NHL player again.
Right.
And so far this season, he's been decently consistent. There was a good streak of games where he was getting a point. He was looking a lot active, and he's doing a lot of things right. And I'm also interested to see, because he's been used as net front a lot, but his shot's also very good, which he's been able to use. So I'm interested to kind of see where he goes. But it's definitely been a good start to the season, and I hope he continues it and mainly just stays healthy.
Well, he's a guy I put in the same kind of category as Rykov. A couple of guys that are extremely talented players and high hopes for them, but they just haven't gotten there yet. So hopefully, as you say, he might be able to avoid that injury bug and continue to play some excellent hockey this year. Number 2 is someone we've talked about an awful lot, and of course, you saw a lot of him this year for sure, as he's been present in just about everything the Canes have been doing. Bradley Nadeau. And Nadeau, as we saw in the exhibition games with the Canes, played extremely well. He scored in his first 2 games and I think showed extremely well throughout. But what have you got to say about our man, Bradley Nadeau?
Yeah, he got as high as he did just because of the preseason that he had. He looked like a much better player than what he ended off with last season, and that's something to say for a guy who scored over 30 in the AHL as a 19-year-old. That's something really good. There's still some things that I would like to see him work on. His play at 5-on-5 has been shaky at times. I like what he does on the forecheck, but he does offensively. He still needs to get a little bit better there, as well as some of the defensive ideas when he's in his own zone, specifically handling pressure, because the turnover against, I want to say it was Tampa in that first game, hurt real bad. He needs to handle pressure a little bit, and I would like to see him start breaking out pucks a little bit more if the defense can get it up to him and him start doing it and leading in transition. There's some things that obviously he still needs to work on, but there's also some things that the Canes don't have that he possesses, mainly just his unbelievable shooting ability and his shooting talent. And again, I'm not mad at him going to the AHL. I think some people were mad because he was really good, but there's not a spot for him. That
Correct.
you can't. You're not. They already have 4 top 6 wingers that they're more than comfortable playing, and that's perfectly fine. You can wait a year on Nadeau and let him go. And if one of those guys goes down, he's probably going to be the first one called up just because of his acumen. Again, it's one of those things, but he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and one of the things, I don't know if you've seen this, but certainly in some of the games I've watched, and I've pretty seen most of the games, the preseason, and certainly the other games that the showcase, prospect showcase, and so on. I think Nadeau is trying to play a heavier game now. He seemed to be laying the body on, was going in, making some heavy checks. Have you seen some of that as well, Nick?
100%. He's a player that wants to be much more physically engaged than he was last year, which is a very big improvement.
Yeah, and again, he's going to most likely he'll be teaming with Ryan Suzuki. They have a great chemistry, and I would expect that Juha Jaska will probably join them once he's back
So
from injury.
I
Yeah.
I had well, I believe he is. I thought I saw a picture of him practicing today. I could be
Okay.
very wrong, but I thought I did as well. I have something coming out Saturday. It
Yeah.
was just like a normal regular piece, and that was the exact line I kind of thought, because that's where that like Nadeau Suzuki is a very good combination, and then you just give them a bigger, a little bit more physical, more veteran winger. So I was
Yeah.
flipping between Yaska, who I ended up settling on, and Giovanni Smith, but I
Oh,
think it's going to be
I
something
never
like that.
thought
Yeah.
about Giovanni. Yeah, of course, now that he's down there, he becomes a factor too. But I just really, they did have some playing time together last year, and they really were
Yeah.
quite effective. So yeah, I think again with Bradley, look, a lot of folks were pulling their hair out, as you say, when he was sent down, and he's a guy that he's close. I mean, he's really close. And as you said rightfully, Nick, he's a natural goal scorer. You just can't find those. This is a guy that's going to score. It doesn't matter what league he's in, he's going to score. And the question is, can he now round out his game to the point where, again, Rod Brindamore is comfortable with him playing big minutes, which you want him to play, and on top lines. And I agree also that his chance is going to come, and it's going to be an injury that's going to happen. I've talked about this before, and I believe strongly that's how it's going to take place. And once he gets in, try to take it away from him. I think it's going to be a problem. So, anyway, exciting stuff with him. I was really interested in number one for the month, and this is someone you started talking a fair bit about last year, and kind of in the same kind of concert as Alexander Nikishin, and that was Timur Kol. Of course, he was playing with SKA at the time, and it was kind of interesting to watch his early development with them. He's a guy that he was again drafted late, sixth round, 168, and in their draft. I mean, that's way down, and he was rated by so many folks way higher. In fact, Corey Prodman had him at 47. So, I mean, that's insane to see how far he dropped. A lot of people like him. He plays a smart game. He's good offensively. He's rounding out his game defensively. What are you seeing with Timur Kol this year?
Yeah, the main thing for me was that I wanted to see him involved much more offensively. I
Yeah.
kind of knew his defensive game going in was already pretty solid, and it's still maintained pretty solid. But the offensive game is the stuff that's already blossomed heavily, and that's what I really wanted to see. He has a very, very heavy shot when
Yes.
he's able to use it, and I really like his ability to figure out the right play from the point, whether that be on the power play. He's been very solid there. He's just able to use his skating to kind of get more space and more time to create what he wants to create, and that's a very big asset for somebody to have. And the Canes kind of used last year's draft mainly as we're going to get ahead of the trend of guys just taking big, rangy, strong skating
Right.
defensemen. We're just going to get ahead of it and do it this year, and we're going to let everybody kind of fight next year for it, which is kind of what everybody saw, was that you're taking 6'4", 6'5" defensemen who can kind of skate, but the rest of their game is not good. Last year they took 3 6'4" defensemen who could skate, but they already had one attribute of their game that was already sticking out.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see Cole is, I would say, the first to round out his game more than Roman Chakrin or Alexander
Ah,
Suryatsky, but
yeah.
Alexander Suryatsky right now has him beat because Suryatsky is getting regular KHL minutes.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because through the dev camp, of course, you talked about these huge these huge defensemen and a bunch of them, right? And the Canes continue to load up on Russians for sure. And the other thing, going back to Priman, and just to totally support what you're saying, he's got an above average shot, which will translate well to Carolina's high volume offensive style. So he's again, Priman saying very clearly that Cole's got some offensive ability and he's got the ability to shoot the puck, which you've highlighted too, Nick. And I think, again, he's a big player. He's another solid sized guy back there. He skates well. He's got great potential. So excited about Timur Kol for sure. So the top 5 done. Let's move on to our honorable mentions. And kicking it off is Alexander Pelevin. He's a defenseman. Interesting thing, he's not a huge defenseman. He's not one of those bigger guys, I guess. But in any case, again, late round guy, 7th round in 22. Darren York said something interesting about him because I'm a big fan of Vladimir Grudinin. And he said he's a little similar to Grudinin in being able to hold tight gaps and be able to get up in the play and join the rush. So again, more typical of what the Canes are looking for in these D-men. What have you seen with Pelevin?
Yeah. I'm not gonna say it was kind of a lucky streak of points here, but it definitely stuck out because this is the first time he's kind of gotten some points in a little bit. He's not known as a very active offensive defenseman. He'll get maybe 10 points in a year and call it a day. That's pretty good for him. But because he's more well known for just his defensive ability and the physical attributes, that even though he might not be as big as some of the other guys, he's still a hyper physical defenseman, which is what you like to see from your guys whenever they're defending. So, I mean, the offense kind of shown. He was getting a little bit more playing time due to some injuries on their back line. Okay. And he did what he was supposed to do. He's been playing his offside a lot. He's been playing on the right-hand side as a lefty, which is interesting. I mean, that's always, if you're good at it, it's definitely a bigger help. And I haven't really talked about him a lot because he doesn't really get a lot of points, but his game is just kind of, I don't want to say it's boring, but you just don't hear about him a lot just because, other guys are getting points. But he plays a very, simple, good game. So he just got a few points.
Well, sometimes the defensemen you want are the ones that you don't really notice much because they're just going about their business. And as you said, I think correctly in your write-up too, Nick, he's just a steady defensive guy. He's getting it done. And if he adds a little bit of offense, he becomes a lot more interesting as well. So, so many of these defensemen in Russia right now, and I'm curious to see how they're going to pull them out over time. But again, the Canes have been able to load up on some high potential players late in these drafts. And we've talked about that a lot, and it looks like some of them are making their moves. Talking about a guy that they get late in the draft who's really starting to show something, and he's got a lot of folks in his camp these days. That's Charles Alexis Legault. Legault, of course, a little bit later getting drafted, had a couple of years in the NCAA. Of course, he was his first year. He was on the championship Quinnipiac team. So I'm sure that Rod Brindamore got a chance to see some action with Legault. But he's a guy that just, again, he goes about his business. He's been solid defensively, starting to add some offensive things. We saw a bit of that in training camp. What are you seeing with Charles Alexis Legault?
So, if I had a nickel for every time the Canes took a college overager or double overager, I'd have 2 of them. The first one being Legault, and the second one being Charlie Cerrato. Legault was he was kind of the quote unquote boring defenseman. He's very defensively sound. He's big. He can skate pretty well. And the time he spent at Quinnipiac, he used very well because during the last little bit of his time at Quinnipiac, he developed a lot of the offensive traits that you needed him to have for him to have more of an NHL projection. Yeah. And he got him. His passing became better. His shot became better. Everything just kind of rounded out. Going into his first AHL season, I kind of had I didn't really have a ton of expectations because, again, he was a slightly older guy, but he was more physically mature than a lot of the other players on the team. So I was wondering where that was going, and he just became their most important defensive defenseman outside of maybe Ronan Seeley.
Yeah.
He was their first penalty killer. He was a guy who ate big minutes when he needed to because of his defensive acumen. And it's a guy who continued to just get better during the year. And that's why you kind of saw him stay up in camp for as long as he did, because he knows the Carolina system. And he's probably about as close to NHL-ready as you could really ask for from a guy who was drafted 2 years ago. And I think people are going to really like Legault. I think they already really do like Legault now because of what he's shown in preseason. But whenever he does get his first real taste of NHL action, and more importantly, he gets his first consistent action, I think people are going to really become enamored with him because he's kind of just what Jalen Chatfield is, but he's more physical than Chatfield, which is something to behold because Chatfield's already a great hockey player in that sense. And if, in the wings, you have a guy like Legault who's just almost, I wouldn't say a carbon copy of Jalen Chatfield, or maybe you could say Brett Pesce, but it's definitely a very interesting player to look forward to over the next few years.
No, I think, folks have been surprised at how fast he has developed. I mean, him and Dominic Fensori, I thought, were just an outstanding pair with Chicago last year. And I guess they're going to be doing the same thing right now, starting this year. And those two guys together are really, really well suited. I'm a big fan of Dom's, and to see him and Legault play the way they've been playing. Legault, he's willing to drop the mitts too, and he got in a couple of fights and got in there and starting to show that he really wants to win that spot. He has an advantage right now being a right shot D man, and of course the Canes have loaded up on lefties, so this is a good situation for him. And I fully expect in the next year or two you're going to see Legault on that blue. Another big defenseman that skates well. He plays smart, and that's one thing I like about Legault. He doesn't panic in his own zone. He's cool. He just plays a smart game. And I think that's why he's been able to translate that very effectively into his play with the Canes. He did not look out of place at all. And I think you're right in saying that he's very, very close. So that was a real steal for the Canes. That's an understatement. And he's definitely going to be a Hurricane at some point in the future. Another guy that's a little bit older, and we talked about him in the past, Joel Nystrom, coming out of Sweden. Now, Nystrom, he's been playing with Farjestads he's been with them up 5 seasons now before coming over to Chicago last year. So he had a lot of play in the top men's league in Sweden. So and was playing well the last couple of years. He was doing a great job. He's not a big defenseman, but watching him in camp and watching him, in the prospect showcase and so on, this guy to me is just a smart defenseman. He sees the ice well. He's got a high hockey IQ. I didn't think he looked out of place at all. What have you been seeing with Nystrom?
Yeah, so development showcase, or the prospect showcase, it had me with a little bit of a concern because he's been lauded for his skating ability, and I saw that whenever he was in Sweden, but he kind of got beat a few times when a player would just kind of go around, and I got a little worried about that. But then you watch him in preseason, and that didn't happen at all, and he was making key defensive plays when he was the last guy back, and he was, making a lot of smart decisions, and I went, okay, never mind. I guess that was just a weird experience for him. But yeah, no, he looked kind of like the player that I got to watch at Farjestad for a long time. He was breaking the puck out effectively. His skating was definitely better than what it was during the showcase, and maybe that's just a testament to him being more in shape than just going to Tampa in the middle of the summer. So he looked a lot better in the preseason, and he was another guy that didn't really look a ton out of place. So I'm interested to see if he'll get his NHL opportunity at some point during the season. I wouldn't say it's out of the question just because of how he looks and the previous experience that he already has. So I'm interested to see that, and I think he'll be a nice piece for Chicago's blue line. I would think that he would probably get a look to quarterback the second unit for the power play.
Yeah. Well, Fensori will do the number 1 unit for sure.
That's what I would assume too. Yeah.
No, for sure. I was surprised by Nystrom. I mean, we had talked about him a little bit last year. But I just thought he was just solid. Like he just made great decisions on the ice. He is quick, and he was doing some great rushing moves as well. We saw him take the puck in and go deep and try to make plays and playing with some confidence. But again, he's been playing with men in pro leagues for a while, so it's to be expected. I think he's going to translate very well to Chicago. I look at that Chicago blue line, and it's loaded. I mean, man, they got Badinka down there. They've got Nystrom now. They've got all the guys that pretty well the top guys from last year. I mean, I just hope they get playing time.
that was the one thing I noted today because I forgot I did a thing last year where I kind of projected what the Chicago roster was going to look like, and I don't have the time to do that now, so I just kind of put it in the thing I got Saturday. And so Fensori Legault, Gavin Bayreuther is there with Badinka, and then you have Seeley, and you still have Nystrom, and then Alexei Haimo-Salmi, Bryce Montgomery as well, and there's a couple other guys that'll probably just go to the ECHL that could, if you really needed to, play. So this is going to be a very, very deep Wolves team, no matter which way you look at it.
For sure, and interestingly enough, Bryce Montgomery, I thought he showed something in camp this year. He's a big player. He's been sitting in the ECHL for a while, but he's got to be due to head up to the American League at some point.
I think he'll get more looks this year than he did last year, but it's kind of just the situation of they have too many cooks in the kitchen right now.
Yeah, there's no question. And of course, they got a bunch of others, as we talked about, in the wings ready to come over in the coming years, particularly from Russia. And of course, a couple of guys in Sweden. You've still got Noel Franson and Simon Forsmark. So, I mean, the Canes' depth with prospects on the blue line is it's incredible. So we'll be busy talking about all these guys as the days go on. So good news. And I'm going to be like you watching Nystrom closely. I like him. I would not be unhappy at all if he got an audition with the Hurricanes. I think he's a guy that brings a lot to the table. So we'll see how that goes. Now, finishing off the honorable mentions, somebody I know have some personal interest in because of your discussions with him at a previous camp. And that was Yegor Velmakin, the goaltender, of course. And you remember you had some interesting conversations through a translator, I think, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were kind of fun. He's a guy, again, that here's what Darren York said. We were impressed with how his season went. This is his draft year. He got a little better each and every game. A kid we were happy to get at round 7, number 222. So, I mean, that's almost at the end of a draft. I mean, that's pretty close to the end. So what are you seeing with him?
I was just so happy when he got his release from Minsk to finally go and get game time somewhere. It was making me sad that he just wasn't getting any game time. And he is getting more game time now. It's still not great, but I've liked a lot of the things that I've seen. He's had a couple good games, and then in other games he's just gotten shelled because the defense in front of him wasn't good. But you still watch him, and I still see a goalie that has some sort of North American future because a lot of what he does is just sound. He's very technically good. I worry a little bit about athleticism, but when you have a goalie that's very technical with the size that he has, even though he's not the biggest, I still think there's something there for him to be better than what his counting stats are. And to be fair to him, he had a pretty good month, so I still give him credit, and I like the way he looked.
Well, he's not one of the bigger goaltenders. What's he checking at 6'1", 6'2"? He's in that range. So you wouldn't put him in that category of some of these goalies like Brandon Bussey, who's 6'5" or 7", or who knows what he is. He's huge now. These goalies are just getting bigger and bigger. So that's going to be something, again, caught in the KHL the last couple of years, didn't play much, and he gets a chance now. He's back in the VHL. So hopefully he's going to get some playing time, and we'll see some good work from Yegor. Okay, as we head to the next month in October, it's already started. Are there players that you're going to be keeping your eye on this month?
I think there's a very obvious one that people kind of got, I think a lot of people got introduced to on a wider scale after last Friday and last Saturday. They had a ton of scouts and a ton of eyes on Penn State, Arizona State.
Yes.
Everybody was there for Gavin McKenna. Buddy got shown up by Charlie Cerrato, big time. 5 points in one night in one of the better prospect performances I've seen in a very long time. And I don't really know what I was expecting. I got to see him at the dev camp. And I have a friend who went to Penn State, who worked with the hockey team, who said that Cerrato is just a gem of a person, and what I see on the ice is just insane. I mean, this was a pretty good Arizona State team, and basically every time he stepped on the ice, he was generating a good chance offensively, whether that be in transition. He was great. He was net front at times. He would shift out wide. His shot is really nice as well.
Right.
I like a lot of what I saw from him. And even in the second game, where he only had 1 point, he was still really, really aggressive with his offense. The defense is still good. He kills a couple penalties for Penn State every now and again. The face-off circle is, it's the face-off circle. 40% on Friday, 50% Saturday. But I still liked a lot of what I saw from him, and I think going forward this month, is going to be a very, very interesting player to watch. And it was also really fun seeing Canadians fans get really mad that Cerrato was named first star in the Big Ten over Michael Hague, and everybody immediately went, well, why isn't Michael Hague the first star? And immediately people go, well, Cerrato played a real hockey team, and Michigan played Mercyhurst. If you can find where Mercyhurst is on a map, I will give you $5. Because I couldn't tell you where Mercyhurst is, I promise you. And I watched those games, too, because Jaden Perron played. I couldn't tell you where Mercyhurst is.
Yes. Yeah, Jaden is someone else we talked about a lot. Well, Cerrato, you got to believe there's something there for sure, Nick, because the Canes wouldn't have drafted him as high as they did. And I think, they feel like there's somebody that's, again, been hiding under the radar that, and again, an older player passed through some drafts, one of these situations that every once in a while you find a nugget there. And I think maybe the Canes have pulled something out here. And again, being a centerman, that's beautiful. There's been a lot of discussion about the Canes acquiring a center this year and potentially being an older center for a year or two. And that would track nicely for a guy like Cerrato.
I was gonna. They've taken 2 double overagers in 2 years or 3 years, I guess, because Legault was 23 and then Cerrato was 25. Yes. Yeah. But he's another guy that I wouldn't be shocked to see sign relatively quickly. Like if he has a really, really good year this year, it would not surprise me in the slightest if at the end of Penn State's season, whenever it is, he's suiting up for Chicago. Yeah. Just because he's so much more mature than a lot of the players on his team. Like Aiden Fink is good. Gavin McKenna's really good, obviously. Yeah. A lot of the guys on the team is good. Cerrato was next level against a very good Arizona State team. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's a guy that gets a call earlier than others in this class, even though I think the only guy signed so far is Ryabkin. So.
Oh, Ryabkin, yes. Of course, we'll have lots to say, I'm sure, about Ivan. As we wrap up, somebody I always enjoyed talking to you about, and we've been watching him with interest. Again, an older player jumping into his situation. Of course, that's Alex Nikishin. What are your thoughts about Nikishin so far, Nick?
He kind of just looked like himself. He looked like SK Nikishin in the preseason. He was really good a lot of the time, made 1 or 2 mistakes, but he just looked really good. It's going to be weird, though. It's going to be, since his age, 24 is kind of my hard cutoff limit. It'll be the first year I don't cover Nikishin, which will be a little weird. But I think he'll just become a very enjoyable thing for Canes fans. And as well, I mean, play him on the power play. Why are we trying to stress about a guy who just turned 24 years old? Why are we stressing about overloading his mind and making him think too hard? He's 24. He was the captain of a Russian hockey team. I don't get that one. But again, I mean, that's not the main thing I care about, but it just seemed weird to me.
Well, I think you're onto something, and a lot of folks were, pulling their hair out, saying, "Hey, did we overestimate what Nikishin's going to be?" And were people like you and I just crazy? I loved him in his last game, killing penalties, playing lots of minutes alongside Chatfield. I thought that was a really nice combination.
That should also just be the pairing.
Yeah, I just thought they looked really, really calm together and played extremely well. Of course, Chatty can cover for anyone. So if Alex wants to take a rush and get in there and do what he does best, is get that puck in there, and he's showing more confidence each game. And this was to be expected. And when Brendan Moore and others say it's going to take a year or two, come on, he's going to be very, very quickly. This guy is going to be demonstrating what we've been watching him do in the KHL. He's just a heck of a defenseman, and I don't think we need to fret too much about that. So yeah, I'm with you on this. We'll be watching him closely, and of course, I guess I'll be looking forward to the game tomorrow night to see how Alex plays his first regular season game with the Canes. Hey Nick, as always, it's been great. And where can folks find you?
Canes Prospects on Twitter, the Canes Prospects Substack, which is now just canesprospects.com. That's kind of just the main places I am. So,
no, it's great, and I certainly have enjoyed your work with Matt Soma, and Matt joined us recently as well. So it's great to have you guys join in on these discussions, certainly on the prospect side, and always enjoy your comments about the Canes as well. So we'll look forward to getting together again very soon, Nick. I know you're busy with school and with a lot of things you're doing these days, but we'll try to slot one in where we can and enjoy talking about the prospects with you. For those of you who've been listening or watching, Nick and I, of course, are delighted you've spent time with us. If you like this episode, please press the like button. If you have comments or anything you'd like to say, questions, please put those in the comment section down below. And of course, if you'd like to be alerted of future episodes of Storm Tracker, please press the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be alerted just as soon as those are available. As always, Nick and I thank you for spending time with us and look forward to getting together with you real soon right here on Storm Tracker.